Hi, and welcome to the Indulge podcast. My name is Sonali, and today we have a really special and different episode. We're going to be exploring food and wellness through the lens of genetics. It's called Nutrigenomics, that's the technical term. And to take us through it and to tell us everything we need to know from A to Z, we have Deepika Suresh with us. She is a genetics specialist and the chief of staff at Xcode Life. Hi. How are you doing?
All good, all good. How are you?
I'm doing well. So, first up, what got you into genetics? What got you interested?
Just the whole concept of how it influences every bit of you. You know, earlier when people said genes and genetics, we just thought about your height, your eye color. But now it's like, what food choice are you making today? And are your driving skills good? Yeah. So each thing about you is influenced by genetics, and I mean that just blew my mind, and I just
So you're saying it's not like that whole adage about women drivers not being great. It's more about our genes and not the gender.
Yeah. Let's please break that stereotype. Let this be the moment we do that.
So there could be a gene pool of women that are superior drivers.
Definitely.
Have you found them?
I'm going to call myself a superior driver.
All right, okay. So let's get into what you do at Xcode Life. It is a personal genomics company. What exactly does that mean?
So until very recently, genetic tests could be available only through a healthcare practitioner, for example, your medical doctor. So we are trying to make genetic tests accessible to every single person out there. And we're doing that by simplifying the whole complex language of genetics, so that when you read, say, your test results, you don't need to call your doctor and say, what does it mean? I'm very confused. Or, of course, hit our very best friend, Google. You don't need to do all that. So we're trying to make genetics accessible to every common man, woman out there.
Okay. And how would this work in like so I come to you, I sign up. And what's my next step? Like, how would we take this forward?
We have a very friendly conversation, and I try to learn about your habits, your health, your pain points when it comes to being healthy, trying to be fit. And so most people who already come, they know what they want. They have a particular pain point, and like, so I want this particular test from you. But if you're just looking to lead a healthier life. So
can I give you one? Can I give you a pain point? Okay, great. So I have this thing that began during the pandemic. It's called delayed sleep. And it means that basically I sleep extremely well once I fall asleep, but every night I go from so I work at a newspaper, as you know, because we're here, and we have these crazy like deadlines. So if on a print day I go to sleep at 2:30 a.m., the next day I'll go to sleep at 4:30 a.m., even though I try to sleep earlier. And the next day delays by another 2 hours. And then I end up going to sleep at like 8:30 a.m. So this morning I got to sleep at 8.
Wow.
And not for lack of trying. So is that something that could be to do with my genes? Or is that purely habit environment?
So probably the first thing I'll ask you is whether you've tried to fix your sleep cycle and whether it's been because of a particular lifestyle factor, like say because of your work. But if this has been like a chronic problem for you and you've tried, say, like fixing your work hours, doing meditation and whatnot, and you still have that issue, then we have a term for this called sleep latency, how long it takes for you to fall asleep. Right. And that is very much genetic.
It is genetic?
Yes, it is. And we have an entire sleep test that focuses on various aspects of your sleep, like are you a night owl or an early bird, or even some of the serious sleep disorders like snoring, sleep apnea, and everything. So we got the product for you.
So if I were to do a test, I'd be able to understand more about where this comes from, which part of my lineage, or how would I?
So, probably might not have much use learning about whether it's coming from your paternal or maternal side.
Right.
All that matters is whether it's in your genetics
or purely environment.
Yeah. Most of the traits that we are talking about is a mixture of both. So I think that's something that we can clear right in the beginning. So when I say your sleep latency is genetic, it's not entirely genetic, you know. You're not like born with like a fate saying you'll fall asleep, you'll have trouble fall asleep for the rest of your life. It's not like that. So you're born with certain tendencies that get triggered by your lifestyle factors.
For our listeners, now one of your focuses is Nutrigenomics, which is sort of the relationship between food and our genes, and how food influences our gene expression. Is that right?
So it works both ways. So if our DNA can be thought of as like an instruction manual.
Okay.
So like Sonali's instruction manual is basically how Sonali is. So each page is a gene. If we can if we can visualize it like that. So page 1 says you're gonna have straight hair. Page 5 says you have a high risk for heart disease. So all these are like basically your instruction manual. Each gene talks about something. So same way, it also affects how nutrition is processed inside a body. So it's like page 67 says your fat will be broken down properly from the food. Probably for me, page 67 says, hey, you have a small issue breaking down fat. So probably stay away from high fat foods. So the nutrition and gene, it works both ways. Like, you know, how what you eat tells a gene how to function. Like, you know, you should not synthesize so much of this. Or if you eat the wrong kind of food, synthesize a lot of stress hormone. So it works both ways. Like genes affect how nutrition is processed in your body, and what you eat might or might not make a gene function as well as it is supposed to be.
So ideally, if someone were to get the optimum use of their diet, they would go to a nutritionist and a genetic specialist, and then combine the two and get the perfect blueprint of what to do.
Ideally, we do. That is what is recommended, but the current trend is just most people don't even go to a nutritionist. They just go to their medical doctor. But now, you know, we see a trend of people going to nutritionists, but that sometimes just doesn't cut it, because most nutritionists have a certain set of course, they take a detailed history, but they have a set of diets that they recommend and move on, and not explore what your body is actually made for. You know, like what our ancestors ate is also like influencing your tolerance to certain. For example, if you've had ancestors who've eaten a lot of seafood, then you'll have a little bit more tolerance towards mercury. So you can probably like ingest a little bit more mercury than me. So without knowing all of this, recommending a one-size-fits-all diet is not getting us anywhere.
I'm allergic to all crustaceans. Vomited all over my grandmother when I was in school after eating tiger prawns. So I would be curious to know about this relationship.
Something that explores food allergies as well.
All right, so let's say someone comes to you and then really not sure how to navigate this, but they're curious. They want to understand how genetics and their understanding of their personal DNA and genetics overall, or you know, the family background and lineage can help them. What are like the most common 5 ways that you could help an individual coming to you for a personal genomics, like they're beginning their personal genomics journey? What's the the first 5 things you could think of off the bat?
So we often say that there are 3 pillars to human health. So let's not complicate with 5. I'll just start with 3.
3, okay.
Okay, so diet, exercise, sleep. Those are the 3 pillars of human health. So, you know, we try to first explore those areas and how we can improve someone's health and wellness. And it's a holistic approach. You know, if you come to me, chronic headache, Deepika, I'm not going to be like, okay, I'll do this for your headache. I'm going to try to see what is causing your chronic headache. So the whole holistic approach to health. So that is ideally what I would discuss about if you come to me. Like I will try to get an idea of your current nutrition profile. And you know, a lot of people have these set of symptoms that they're not able to come up with an explanation for. And probably that is all your rare mineral deficiencies that your doctor won't ever write a prescription for, like, go take copper levels and come back. But copper deficiency causes a whole lot of symptoms. Same thing with magnesium, you know, hair fall.
Okay.
Magnesium could be causing it. So
I heard you say diet, and what were the other two?
exercise and sleep. So these are the things that we focus on. And when it comes to working out, mostly it's simple, get up, go out, do something, come back. But there is also a significant genetic component to your fitness. So your muscles are, you're born with certain set of muscles that will favor one activity over another.
Right.
Endurance athlete or a sprinter athlete, for example. And that can, very interestingly, one of our customers had this problem of such frequent injury that he was not able to, adhere to any kind of workout. And I mean, he plays cricket for the country, and he was, I'm not going to say who.
I was waiting.
So he was having a lot of trouble with such frequent injuries that, and then when we reviewed his genetic profile, we found out that his genetic makeup required more rest time between his workouts. And by the way of genetics itself, he is more prone to injury. So without that information, and you're just trying to go to different physiotherapists, trying to fix it, when all you need to do is work out a certain way, take more gaps between two sets, leave enough rest days, when there lies your solution. And after following that, he's been, of course, it's not like a whole magic thing that he's all completely, but the injury incidences have come down for him. So yeah, so fitness is something that we try to focus on, because people are trying to be really fit these days. They're at least fitness conscious, and but something or the other stops them. Even exercise motivation is genetic, and
Really?
yes,
Motivation.
yes. So basically, your dopamine reward system is your dopamine getting secreted, and when you do something pleasurable to you, dopamine gets secreted. So when dopamine is not secreted, you don't find exercise pleasurable, and why would you stick to something that's not pleasurable?
Okay. All right. What are some unexpected patients or case studies that you've come across in terms of results? In terms of results after exploring their genes?
Earlier I was talking about magnesium deficiency, right? So this one person came to us with she knew that she wanted to order the Nutrigenomics panel with us, but because she was trying to find out why she has this chronic fatigue and and she's been following a healthy diet. And of course, her doctors also did their very best. They were trying to prescribe this, that getting the basic, when we say hair fall, iron levels are first sought after, and then after the genetic profile was done for her, she realized she was deficient in magnesium, vitamin C, E, and K.
Okay.
So,
but couldn't she have found that out through a blood test?
She had an increase. So, there are so many minerals and vitamins out there, and vitamin D blood test, say in Chennai, it is costing me around 700 rupees, just vitamin D. So A, D, A, B, C, D, E, K, B1, B2, B3, minerals, copper, magnesium. So what will you test for?
Right. But
when you get a genetic report and you see you have an increased risk for magnesium deficiency. So what are the symptoms of magnesium deficiency? Hey, I have 5 out of these 7 symptoms. And my report also indicates an increased risk.
Right.
So you dig upon that. So the report doesn't tell you this is what you have. This is what you're likely to have. So it serves as like a guidance into this whole complex healthcare system that we have out there, because there is so much what will you watch out for? Are you going to watch out for vitamin deficiency? Are you going to watch out for your eating behavior? What are you going to watch out for? So this serves as a guidance, these are probably
sort of like the red flags.
Exactly.
So red flags in your
nutrition.
So before you go to a specialist, this would give you a broad outline of where to focus your time. And
we recommend working in tandem with your nutritionist or even your medical doctor, because 100%. They have like a better family and medical history, and this just is a very good marriage.
Okay. Now, another thing I wanted to ask you about was, what about aspects of our bodies that we're told are just not possible, that we're sort of given limitations on? I'll give you an example.
Yes, so for
Like-
instance would be helpful.
Like, say someone who is short, and they were the shortest person in their class, and now they're a grown-up, and could a gene test tell them that they just had to do this one thing, and they could it influence things that are not immediately related to diet? I'll give you another one. Pregnancy is a big one. A lot of women are trying to have children, and PCOD is just so much higher than it was before
Yes, so a lot of health conditions that were just once thought to be, say, be it heart disease, hypertension, that was just thought to be, lifestyle induced diabetes, you eat sugary foods. But then now you know that they have a genetic aspect to it. So you can eat all the stevia you want instead of sugar. If you have a genetic aspect to it, you will still be at a higher risk. So a lot of things that were once thought to just happen, apparently just like, lifestyle and things like that, now have like a genetic component to it. Be it when you talk about pregnancy, the chances of prenatally developing a condition is influenced by this vitamin B9 deficiency. So a lot of people don't have this enzyme that is supposed to convert your inactive to active form of vitamin B9. And a lot of congenital conditions that we see in babies, like, not to bring in too many terms, like spinal bifida, even like brain development.
Right.
It's just a simple fix by giving a folic acid supplement, just one supplement.
How much should a folic acid supplement cost, or a vitamin B9 cost?
So vitamin B9 tests, blood tests are not recommended commonly at all. So during pregnancy, so most of the, unfortunately, there is a certain section of women who begin to care about their reproductive health only when they're planning a child. Right? So at that point of time, the tendency right now in the medical community is to give folic acid to all the women who are planning pregnancy. So this is something that you can fix much earlier if you know that you are deficient in that enzyme. You can, because a lot of plant foods, right? They have inactive form of a lot of nutrients, vitamins, vitamin A, for example, carrots, pumpkins, all have this inactive form of vitamin A, and inside your body, you need to have enough levels of those enzymes to convert into an active form.
Right.
So such information really helps you instead of buying like a multivitamin. Multivitamins are like a big market right now, and it's after a point of time, it's just expensive pee. I mean,
Right.
so
just a tiny, simple fix can be spotted with a test.
instead of running blind into all these diet bandwagons, one after the next, this, that, you just listen to what your genes are trying to tell you.
Okay. But you can't get taller.
Yeah, of course, right? So
I'm just trying to see what are the limits to which you can change. Like, what's the playground what are the boundaries?
So the genetic makeup that you're born with cannot be changed.
Okay.
So if your gene, you have an ABC gene, it is forever going to be ABC.
Right.
But if your ABC naturally produces 10 units of something good, of course your lifestyle, your stress, everything is now making it only produce 5 units.
Okay.
So you learn about all of that and fix from within.
Okay.
And as I earlier stated, this is not something that says you have this, you will have this, but say
Right.
it's an increased risk. So there is, of course, always limitations. For example, if there is a good chance that your genetic profile indicates you're at risk for vitamin C deficiency, but in general you have good vitamin C thanks to a good diet that you've been following. So even if you're born with a certain risk, through good parenting, even those risks can be mitigated.
But I have read that there are like if you have something with compound interest, like if you're exercising regularly, or if you're staying in a certain kind of weather for several years, that it can have some influence over your genes?
Most definitely. So that is the concept of epigenetics. So that means the environment around you, a habit that has been in your family for generations, how it influences how a gene functions. So, for example, people who live in high altitudes, they naturally have low vitamin D levels. They are no matter how much their enzymes are functioning well, but they're predisposed to having naturally low vitamin D levels. So that's because chronically they've not had enough sun exposure. So even a new child that is born into the family will automatically have that, trait within them.
Okay. So, is there anything that one should keep in mind that if they have, like, could you give me an example if there's a person who you've seen who had like a specific gene, I'm guessing gene pool is a wrong term to use, that's too broad, gene expression, and they wanted to change something, and you said, do this, cultivate this habit, and you can change it?
Yeah, so
you can change a pre-existing condition despite your genes?
Yeah, so definitely, right? So we are naturally, many of us are naturally disposed to having low vitamin levels only because of our genes.
Okay.
So the simple matter of supplement is basically your genes, it is written, you'll naturally have low vitamin D levels, or you'll naturally have low dopamine levels. So what happens when you have low dopamine levels is that the life satisfaction, the happiness that you get from life is on the lower spectrum of things. And you have this information with you. Then you work on naturally boosting your dopamine levels through good nutrition. And it also it works the other way around as well. So one person, interestingly, she was religiously following keto diet and staying away from carbs, full fat. She's like, listen, my husband and I took this journey together and he is shed like crazy. And I am barely, yeah. So she was like very confused. And so these are things that a genetic test will be able to give you insights into. And then in a genetic profile, she naturally has a difficulty processing fats.
Okay.
So it's not like she can't eat fat food, but a high fat diet is not going to help her in her weight loss journey. So then, I recommended that she switch to a diet that is more suitable for her genetic makeup. Like, maybe like try going easy on the fats, and carbs are not evil. So just try doing that. And of course, she was feeling better, more than weight loss. That will happen eventually, that happened gradually, but she felt better overall. Like, you don't wake up with this feeling of nauseousness, for example. You sleep better. So all these things, we could see that she was very happy, and she's like, I feel much better about myself. So
what about chronic illnesses? Have you seen people experience radical changes once they take a test?
Chronic conditions, we work towards prevention, and not reversing. Of course, through nutrition, diseases like type 2 diabetes can be reversed, but we are in the prevention side of things because we recommend learning your risk for all the chronic conditions out there, including stroke, hypertension, type 2 diabetes, heart diseases, osteoporosis, bone mineral. It's not a condition, but bone mineral density is something that a lot of postmenopausal women should think about. So all these things we recommend learning the risk so that you can prevent the onset itself. Right? So that is what we encourage. Of course, treating it and reversing it is a whole other side of healthcare, but we promote prevention.
Okay, all right. So we've covered a lot, and there's a lot of technical terms as well, so it can get complicated. So let's just end by simplifying it all down. How does one get started in this journey of understanding their genes and how it can help them live better and live a higher quality day?
So we just say it's as simple as spit, seal, and send.
Okay, that's fine.
I think first, before opting for a genetic test, you must ask yourself a lot of tough questions.
Okay.
If you're facing something, is it because of what you're doing?
Right, of course.
Before you go and blame your genes. Of course, we can always put a lot of blame on our genes and, have fun with our lives. But that's the first thing because, I don't want to be too salesy and promotional here and say, everybody come take genetic test. But, ask
is there a
yourself
certain age one should look at getting started at?
I think if you have the capacity and the maturity to understand what to do with your results, you can.
So it doesn't matter. Like you could start at 5, you could start at 25, you could start at 45.
If someone wants to be proactive about their child's health, and because personality is something that is influenced by genes as well. So like your mathematical ability, your English attainment, everything. So we see quite a few parents opting for this test for their kids, and people are into sports, so they take a lot of it. Yes.
So you're saying that if there's a parent who wants to figure out what extracurricular activity to put their child in, they can get a gene test, and that will give them a good indication.
Good if their kid has a tendency to develop some musical ability, maybe try that. Yeah. So all that is definitely influenced by genetics, and there's a good chance that you'll experience more reward and success if you follow a certain thing that your genes were meant for. So
let's deviate just for a second while I have you here. So we've covered how food and genes sort of have a unique relationship that's a much more compatible relationship. Should you have a test? Should you have, is it called a genomics test? A personal genomics test?
It's called, the whole industry is called personal genomics, catering, bringing genetics as a service to consumers.
Okay.
The specific test that talks about nutrition is a Nutrigenomic or a nutrition panel test. And as I was earlier saying, it's just spit, seal, and send. Because if you want to opt for, a nutrition test, first please find out your pain points if you actually need it. And then if you opt for a nutrition test, typically how genetic testing services work is consumer genetic service or personal genomic service.
Okay.
They will send you like a saliva collection tube, very, very simple spit. It is. You have an instruction for spitting also. So,
all right. Okay, I was just going to ask, outside of the health spectrum, what are the other ways that we could help ourselves by understanding our genes? As a genetic specialist, like what comes to mind?
So,
what's the most common
even like
one?
your corporate career could benefit from a genetic test because, as I was saying, personality, a lot of our personality traits like empathy, leadership potential, entrepreneurship potential, all have a genetic component to it. And say when you're like 21 and 22 and you're learning that you're like a born leader, then you try to hone those skills, and that when you try to specialize in skills that you're already born with good genes for, then there is a good corporate career leader for you right there, or corporate, any career that you want to pursue. So, it's just not always as serious as healthcare. There's the diseases, and there's also like a fun element to your genetic test, learning about skincare is all the rage these days.
Yes, of course.
Vitamin C, retinol, this, that. How much are we shelling out without knowing what our skin needs, right? So, if you learn that you naturally have a dry skin or you're predisposed to premature wrinkles, then you can target those.
So I can, through a gene test, I can lose weight faster. I can pick the perfect career, probably understand my personality better.
customize your skincare better.
Customize my skincare, great. And also be better equipped to sort of figure out who I'm compatible with as a life partner, I'm guessing. Because you've got your personality
traits when it comes out. So you can choose like someone who is compatible to your personality traits. And
So
but I recommend
fascinating.
following the heart on that one.
All right, on that note, thank you so much. This has been so enlightening. I've learned a lot. This has been an education.
Hopefully I've piqued your interest, and today you'll go home and Google more
Thank
about
you so
all
much,
these.
Deepika. This has been
Glad to
amazing.
be here. Glad to be
We'll catch
here.
you next week with another episode of the Indulge podcast.